Good morning, students. Now, this is actually almost the same thing that I've already sent to you last week. If you have gone through some of those video clips, it's still the trigonometry. We are also going to learn the same stuff, sine, cos, and tangent, but there is a slight difference now. Now, previously we learned sine, cos, tangent can be found if you know what is the adjacent side, opposite side, and the hypotenuse. So I don't have to go through that again. But if you notice, all those angles are below 90 because in a right angle triangle like this, the other two angles cannot be more than 90. So all those values, sine, cos, and tangent, are only for those angles below 90. But in Trigo, we actually can find sine, cos, tangent for angles beyond 90 degrees. Now, how do we actually find it? Now, look at this. This is called quadrants. There are 4 quadrants. Quadrant because it's like a quarter. This is the y-axis. This is the x-axis. The one on the right-hand side, top, known as the quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Now, this is a typical triangle, and if one of the side is 3 and another one is 4, the hypotenuse will be exactly 5 based on the Pythagoras theorem. So I'm going to use the same triangle here. So this is 4, this is 3, this is 5. So if you want to find the sine, cos, and tangent, you can easily find using the formula of sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. That shouldn't be a problem. Now the thing is, when you flip the triangle on this side, it's like a flip, it's like a reflection on the y-axis. Hypotenuse will still remain positive. The y-axis is still 3, but now x-axis become negative 4. Therefore, the values will slightly change except for sine, because sine is still opposite over hypotenuse. 3 over 5 is still positive, but both cos, because it's involved negative 4, and tangent, which also involve negative 4, will make the cos and tangent values become negative. So if you flip the triangle here, from here, on the x-axis, now even the y-axis will be negative 3. So if you try to find a cos, will be negative 4 over 5, sine is negative 3 over 5, but tangent, negative 3 divided by negative 4 turn out to be a positive value. Now, if you were to flip this triangle on the x-axis, y is negative, but x remain positive. You will find out only cos is positive because it's 4 over 5. Both sine and tangent become negative. So the important thing, if you need to know, if you want to know what is the most important thing you want to know, it's here. In the first quadrant, all angles are positive. In the second quadrant, only sine is positive. In the third quadrant, tangent is positive, and in the fourth quadrant, the cos is positive. Now, how do we know which angle is in which quadrant? It's not very difficult to know. Now, you have to move from here, 0 to 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So 0 to 90 degrees in first quadrant, 90 to 180 in the second, 180 to 270 in the third quadrant, and from 270 to 360 is in the fourth quadrant. Now, this is a simple way of remembering it. In the first quadrant, the angle is known as theta. So if you find an angle in the second quadrant, for example, let's say they want you to find cos 120, because the 120 is more than 90 but less than 180, it will be here. So what you need to do, because it is in the second quadrant, 180 minus theta is equivalent to 120, and you will find out theta is 60. Now, what is theta? Theta is the equivalent angle in the first quadrant. because previously when you were not allowed to use calculator, I'm talking about many years ago, we didn't have a way to find what is the value of sine or even cos and tangent beyond 90. So we use this method to find cos 120. We find the equivalent angle on the first quadrant. In this case, I found out 180 minus theta 120 means theta become 60 degrees. So cos 20 in the calculator will have the same value as cos 60. The only thing, because this is the second quadrant and only sine can take a positive value, the value you are going to find will be negative. Now, this part, you don't really have to worry much because you can just take your calculator, your scientific calculator, just press cos 120 and find the value. You will find out it is actually negative 0.5. And then if you find out what is the value of cos 60, you will find out it is 0.5. So negative 0.5 is negative cos 60 as well. Now, another example. Let's say they want you to find the value of tangent 225. 225, 180 plus another 45. So what is the equivalent angle of theta for 225? 180 plus theta is equivalent to 225. And then you can actually figure out the theta is actually 45 degrees on the first quadrant. So what we do, tangent 220 is also equivalent to tangent 45. Now what you need to do is just to determine the sign, whether it's positive or negative. Check. Third quadrant, tangent is positive. So the value of tangent 225, you can press in your calculator and then you compare with value of tangent 45. You will find out both of them have the same value.